which is now a common cause. And the interesting thing for me that I think that is very pertinent when it comes to viewership on the program is the fact that I feel that the program is not specifically designed for the elderly. So you've got the components for the elderly. But what's important is that if you have an elderly person living in your household, or as a family member, which most of us do, are you well enough equipped to deal with that person's needs? We talk about dealing with, so we have a newborn baby come into the household, and we just had one about 2 weeks ago. My sister-in-law gave birth, and I've got a new nephew. And what happens in that situation is that things get adapted. Things get adapted very quickly because I've seen products now that I've never knew existed. And I was thinking, but what did we do 500 years ago? All these 50,000 products that we're using for babies was never there. But the mission of the story is that we adapt based on certain types of individuals in our surrounding. Right? Now we have the elderly. But do we adapt the model to deal with some of the challenges that they may be having? And so I need to be equipped. And so I say the program is there for me too, having somebody elderly in the house to make things better so that I can understand how to deal with those things.
I quite agree. And another lovely part from the exercise part, Ageless Grace was created for anybody, and there is actually a whole section that's referred to as Ageless Grace for kids. So it's actually a wonderful thing for small children to do with granny or grandpa, because anybody can do it. I've had people in my classes from 3 up to 100. So it's a lovely, fun thing to do. But as you say, for the middle group, the parents of the youngster, to know how to also take care of the older person, that very much is specific things that need to be set up to support them. Because maybe it's got to be that they need a wheelchair, or they need a walker, or it gets to that stage sometimes where incontinence happens. And to deal with that in a way that the senior feels respected and taken care of, and not embarrassed and uncomfortable, because it's a reality and it happens.
But here's the important part. I think that we need to get to grips with something, and that is the fact that we now see them as seniors. And we see ourselves as wherever we are in life. But I don't think everybody's in touch with the idea that we are headed that way ourselves. And karma is a strange thing, and my point is, invest in your future karma, because if you're going to do it right, somebody down the line is going to do it right for you when you need it done right for you, because you've set that tone in the family that this is the way that we deal with somebody that becomes elderly, and I'm going to step into that position, and you are going to step into that position. So invest in your future, because your future is becoming a senior citizen.
True. So for the people who dropped that poor mother, grandparent at that retirement home up in Johannesburg, guess what's going to happen for them? It's called what goes around comes around.
Well, we've done it to grannies.
Their children will do the same thing.
Exactly.
So I have not a lot of sympathy for that. So whereas I made sure both my parents died at home, and my sisters and I took care of them. And so I've told my children they must do the same for me.
Exactly. But it's a by example.
Quite right.
And so we have an advocacy. Correct, yes. We have an advocacy area too, and I think that there's a lot happening in society that happens to youth. In terms of, and we're always talking about issues happening to youth and how they're changing, and are they changing for the worse, and that's the normal train of thought and discussion in societal norms. But we look at the elderly, and we find that the program could possibly serve as a hub for different issues. So because you appear to have a very advocacy aspect to you, where people might call you and say, you know what, Gina, are you the lady from the elderly show, the senior show on Deen TV, and I have a problem. The problem is that my kids are doing this to me, and I'm 100% sure that you're going to get all those calls. How are you going to deal with all of that?
We're not going to have all the answers to begin with.
You know that you're going to get those calls.
Well, you've warned me.
Happy to get those.
Well, you've told me that if we're going to do this, we're going to get these calls. And it is okay, because there is a need out there. And so answers need to be provided. So we may not have all the answers to begin with, but we're going to work very, very hard to provide them.
So I suppose it's about people can call and tell you what the issues are, and you can put them and and just redirect them into the correct path, because people need that.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm not going to be able to sort the problem for them, but I can certainly put them in the right direction. That will be my goal, to source all these different areas of information that they need to be able to know that they are supported and their families are supported.
I think our viewers need to understand something, and that is that we believe that our communication channel, excuse the pun, is not a one-way channel, but it's a two-way channel.
Yeah.
We want people to tell us what they want to see and hear, and some of the issues that they are experiencing, so that we are able to put our finger on the pulse and be able to respond appropriately by shaping programming around what the requirements are, instead of putting our preconceived idea into a program and then letting our viewers accept that. We want to do this the other way around.
Absolutely. I want feedback from the public to tell us what are the issues that concern them. So very, very much hope that everyone is going to put their input in, share their thoughts, share their concerns, and that can be a foundation for many of the week subjects that we're going to do. And I think we're also going to be inviting some people into the studio to be able to do exercise classes with me as well. So it'll be a balance.
Of course. Gina, I think we're going to dedicate the first episode of your show to your parents. And so that would be something interesting. Thank you for coming onto the show. I think that we'll catch up with you down the line as things go on.
Wonderful. Thank you, Faizal.
Gina Clifford Holmes, and she's going to be doing the new show on Deen TV that deals with our senior citizens. Something informative, something we want you involved in. Thank you for joining us. Goodbye.